I'm speaking with Joseph Daher. He's Swiss Syrian. He runs the website Syria Freedom Forever. He has a doctorate in development and teaches at Lausanne University. He's recently published a book about the Lebanese Shia group Hezbollah. He'll be coming to the United States this month, February 2017, for a speaking tour, and he's speaking to us now from Geneva, Switzerland. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Stan. Thank you for having me.
There's a bill in the U.S. Congress that several sections of the U.S. left are even supporting. It bans the U.S. from helping ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Of course, that's something the U.S. certainly has not done, but it also bans support for, quote, any individual or group that is affiliated with, associated with, cooperating with, or adherence to such groups, unquote. So I want to get into this issue of Syrians cooperating with fundamentalist or jihadi groups. So let's talk about Aleppo, where Assad and Russian forces have now fully taken control. What were the groups that were in East Aleppo, and who was cooperating with whom?
So in eastern Aleppo, we had around 7,000 to 10,000 fighters present in these areas, composed of various armed fighting groups. There was, for example, Free Syrian Army, various Islamic fundamentalist groups such as Ahrar al-Sham and Jaish al-Islam, and a small portion of jihadist fighters that their numbers were between 300 to 700. So in the highest, let's take the highest proportion of jihadist fighters, it did not go above the 10%. These groups collaborated militarily to face the various attacks of Assad's regime forces, its allies from Hezbollah, Shia fundamentalist groups, and obviously Russian bombing. But let me point out something. The most important in this issue, on my perspective, was to defend the civilians in Aleppo, stand in solidarity with the civilians of Aleppo suffering from bombing, whether from Russian or regime airplanes, ground offensives, and finally facing a forced displacement, which is a crime against humanity. To give a precise example on cases where we defend civilians despite the fact that you might have armed reactionary groups, in the case of South Lebanon or the Gaza Strip. We stand in solidarity with the civilian population of South Lebanon or with the Gaza Strip, despite the political program of Hamas or Hezbollah. We are in solidarity against aggressive wars, against imperialist wars with civilian population. And this was the key issue in Aleppo that some, unfortunately, on the left forgot. This is in addition to forgetting that Eastern Aleppo was one of the center of democratic resistance since these areas of Aleppo were liberated in autumn, end of the summer 2012.
If I
so
could
this was a real issue.
Interrupt you for a second. So you're saying Eastern Aleppo was there was democratic resistance. From some people, we get the story that it was sort of a Nusra dictatorship.
No, on the opposite. I would just like to remind people that, first of all, Daesh was kicked out of Aleppo in various areas of Aleppo province by civilian population's resistance and armed opposition groups in the end of 2013, beginning of 2014. Following this, Jabhat al-Nusra had to face pressure from local population because of its authoritarian practices and reactionary political program. In 2015, Jabhat al-Nusra withdrew from Aleppo for political reasons and military reasons, mostly to Aleppo province. In 2016, in the summer, few hundred fighters of Jabhat al-Nusra came back in eastern Aleppo while they broke the siege in July 2016. So Jabhat al-Nusra had only a very weakened presence in Aleppo. And what is important to understand is that you had an elected local council of Aleppo ongoing since 2013, with also popular organization managing the societies, hospitals being managed by doctors from the city or from outside. You had democratic and cultural campaigns ongoing for the past 3 years. So definitely what was important to protect, in addition to the civilians, was this democratic experience. Since the beginning of the uprising, Assad's regime main target has been Democrats and progressives.
Okay, well, I think myself that what is being targeted in this legislation is not that the U.S. is going to be under Trump helping Nusra. I mean, that was ridiculous. But I think it's the white helmets that these people want to stop. They've been slandering the white helmets as apologists or collaborators with terrorists. And this is something the U.S. does give substantial money to. Tell us, in your view, what do you think of the white helmets?
The White Helmet has been an institution that has provided necessary services to the Syrian civilian population in liberated areas, meaning from the Assad regime and Daesh. And it's an institution that we should respect for the work it has been doing for the past few years, composed of Syrian young and less young men and women ready to give their life to save other civilians being attacked by regimes, airplanes, or Russian bombing. This is in addition to various services it provides as well. So I have a lot of respect for these people that have been involved within the White Helmets.
What do you think of this charge that is made that the White Helmets were actually created by a former British military man, and they get so much Western support that they're really kind of a propaganda outfit? That's the charge.
Internationally speaking, you can have a lot of criticism regarding the ways NGOs are funded, etc. But what is important in this situation is what is doing White Helmet in Syria. It's helping Syrian civilians. It's helping to rescue people from houses being destroyed, saving children, saving Syrian civilian population. And in addition to this, I would add something. The usual criticism about the funding is used very often by authoritarian regimes to undermine or stop any activism from various NGOs or popular organizations. The last example was in Egypt with the case al-Nazra, which is a feminist center organization that has been attacked by the Sisi regime, the dictatorship of Egypt, on the basis because it had foreign funding. And other organization in Egypt has suffered the same fate, unfortunately. So this is a way to undermine these kind of organization, their activism, and under the assumptions or the accusation, sorry, of being funded by foreign actors and being part of a foreign conspiracy against a sovereign regime. So in the case of the White Helmet, it has nearly the same objectives: undermining a revolutionary process and uprising against authoritarian regimes.
All right, here it is, February 3rd. What's going on the ground? Syria has not been that much in the U.S. in the news. There was talk of a ceasefire, and then a little bit there was talk of a town that was poisoning the water supply of Damascus. What's going on the ground?
So officially you still have a ceasefire ongoing in Syria, but it's violated massively or at least it's violated in various areas of Syria, especially from regime forces or militias allied with it, or in addition to sometimes Russian bombing, under the accusation that Al-Qaeda, Jabhat Fateh Sham, might be in these regions, or Daesh, which very often is not necessarily true. The last example of displacement or forced displacement of population was the area of Wadi Barada in Damascus province, which was the target of the regime for the past few weeks or few months for two main reasons: for the issue of water, and secondly for the issue of geostrategic location. Wadi Barada is a key area for the transfer of weapons and arms from Damascus to Lebanon to Hezbollah. And this is why Hezbollah has played a very important role in the capture of these areas in these past few days. The population and its fighters, for the far majority, have been forcefully displaced to Idlib, another example of forced displacements. And the other areas of Damascus province suffered the same fate, as well as civilians of eastern Aleppo and their fighters.
So obviously the warfare has not stopped. Let me go back a bit and tell me a bit about yourself. You're coming on tour in the U.S. Your background?
So I was born in Geneva. I'm originally from Syria. I did spend most of my life in Switzerland. I arrived when I was 5 years old. For my higher education, for my PhD, I left for London, that I completed in 2015. I also lived in Lebanon for 2 years, between 2011 and 2012, where I was politically engaged on the side of my work and research in this country. And I've been working with Lausanne University from September 2012. Regarding my family background, my father is originally from Aleppo.
And the blog Syria Freedom Forever, did you start that?
Yes, I started it in the spring of 2012.
Okay. And let's talk about your tour. When do you come to the U.S.? What cities? Or not only the U.S., I guess it's Canada also. When does that happen?
So I'm traveling on the February 8th to Toronto. The tour starts on the 9th, and then traveling to Montreal, and then various cities of the US and Vermont, Connecticut, Boston, Chicago, and New York. And I would like to use this occasion for thanking all the organizers and people that able me to do this travel. And I hope this opportunity, I hope I will use this opportunity to advance the cause of the Syrian revolution and of all the activists that have struggled for democracy, social justice, and equality in Syria.
And we'll put a link to all your appearance dates and locations when we get it. Let me close talking about your book. Just really touch on it, Hezbollah. First, what's the full title of your book?
Hezbollah, the Political Economy of the Party of God.
Okay, so Hezbollah is from Lebanon, and for the left in the U.S., probably it's known for its fighting, its resistance to Israel, which had taken over large swaths of Lebanon. Can you talk about Hezbollah internally? Is it a left-wing organization? Is it in the mold of Khomeini's Iran, or what?
So Hezbollah is a Shia Islamic fundamentalist movement that follows Khomeini's heritage. Until today, its leadership and the organization as a whole follows the Wilayat Faqih, the theory of jurisconsult that holds moral and political power. If you want to enter as a member Hezbollah, you have to follow the Wilayat Faqih. Hezbollah, in terms of policies, is a right-wing political party in all sense of the term. It supports neoliberal policies, privatization, liberalization of the economy, when it comes to the Lebanese sectarian political system, Hezbollah, although preferring rhetorically and as a political system an Islamic republic, knows it's impossible in Lebanon because of the sectarian composition of the country, 1/3 of Shia, 1/3 of Muslim Sunni, and 1/3 of Christian. But today, Hezbollah is one of the main actor within the Lebanese sectarian system and defends it because it benefits from it just as other sectarian political parties.
How about the treatment of Palestinians in Lebanon? We know Hezbollah fights wars with Israel, but we know the Palestinians are totally without rights in Lebanon. What does Hezbollah have to say about that?
So Hezbollah, despite a rhetoric in favor of the Palestinian liberation, has done nothing basically to improve the conditions of living of Palestinians that, as you said, are catastrophic in Lebanon, deprived of all kinds of rights. Hezbollah in parliament has done nothing to improve their condition. In addition to this, it has been allied to one of the most racist political party, the Free Patriotic Movement, of which the new president of Lebanon, Michel Aoun, is issued, that has consistently encouraged and promoted a racist discourse towards Palestinians in Lebanon, as well as against Syrian refugees. Hezbollah has not commented or denied or objected to these kinds of comments from its closest ally in Lebanon.
Finally, what is Hezbollah doing in Syria?
Hezbollah has been intervening in Syria from the end of 2011, beginning of 2012, sending fighters. The amount of fighters today is, according to various analysis, between 5 to 6 to 9,000 soldiers intervening throughout Syria, from Aleppo to Deir ez-Zor to the borders with Lebanon. It also has played an important role in training Syrian soldiers on some occasion, as well as pro-regime militias such as the National Defense Forces, and it also established Syrian Shia fundamentalist armed group within Syria, diffusing its own ideology to these particular sectarian militias. In addition to the military component, it has increased its political presence as well within Syria. For example, it established the Mahdi Youth Association in 2012 in various areas of Syria. So Hezbollah's intervention basically in Syria has been to save the Assad regime from crumbling against an uprising, a popular uprising from the Syrian people demanding democracy, social justice, and equality.
So
yes, sir.
I'm sorry, you could finish.
No, so Hezbollah has played a completely counter-revolutionary role when it comes to Syria.
Well, what about the excuse? Some people say, well, Syria looked at one point like it was going to fall to Sunni jihadists, and the Hezbollah and Iran felt that they had to save the people who had a religion, whether Alawi or Shia, that was close to theirs, and so this was kind of a defensive thing. They had no choice. What do you think of that argument?
I think this argument is irrelevant for the following reason. Hezbollah intervened, as I told you, at the end of 2011, beginning of 2012. The main Islamic fundamentalist movement became important on the ground following the summer of 2013, which was a turning point for a few reasons, but the main was one, the Ghouta chemical massacre against civilians of Damascus province. Following this attack by the regime against civilians in opposition-held areas, the various Free Syrian Army groups or networks that were dominating the military field since then were completely undermined. And following this turning point, Islamic fundamentalist groups did not stop to take more and more importance in the military field in Syria, and as well in the opposition, especially in opposition-held areas.
But
So
that's in 2013, and Hezbollah was in 2 years earlier.
exactly, and most of the jihadist or Islamic fundamentalist groups were very much minor until, would say, the end of 2012, and at least not dominant only after 2013 summer, the Ghouta, following the Ghouta chemical attack. Jabhat al-Nusra al-Qaeda in Syria was founded in the beginning of 2012, whereas other Salafist groups were founded at the end, mid-2011, but were really minor groups on the military field.
Well, I want to thank you very much for this interview, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the U.S. next week.
Thank you, me too.